Are you applying to tons of jobs and getting no responses? It might not be you, it's your resume. And we're going to talk about all of that in a minute here. Hi there, my name is Anita Adefuye. I am the CEO and founder of Advanced and Fulfilled Coaching Company. We are a company dedicated to helping immigrated professionals advance their careers without all the overwhelm and to really just shorten the journey for them. So if you've been following me, I have been talking about my journey of 10 years being in Canada and really just helping people learn lessons from my journey, things that worked and things that didn't work, but also just to really give people hope and let you know that you are not alone, and there are ways around it. You can understand the system, and you can navigate your way around the system and make it work for you. And in the last episode that I had recorded, I talked about how I made the switch. I talked about how I ended up with a survival job and started working at McDonald's, which really was just that I was underemployed. But I also talked about how I was sending out tons of resume, and I did get callbacks to interview, but I wasn't landing the job. And so it occurred to me that before I just switch over to talk about what changed, and how I was able to land my first, close enough to corporate role, I want to talk about what worked with my resume, right? So, like I said, I've been in my journey as I started figuring things out and understanding the system and how the system works. I made a very intentional decision to learn about the system, not just for me, but to be able to replicate the successes that I have by helping others. And so I wanted to just help you understand what was working well. What was it about my resume that worked well? One of the things that really helped was that while it felt as though most people around me could not really translate their experiences for me, to help me in my own journey, there were things that I could just infer and learn from by just looking at things that they had, like the resume, and really just rewriting my resume. I always get this question a lot, by the way, that did I have like a professional resume writer write my resume for me at the start? The answer is no. I was my professional resume writer. But I did look at other people's resume. I looked at my husband's resume and a couple other people's resume and just really mirrored what they had done. And I mirrored what they had done. And we actually do have a resume template. I'm gonna put the link in the description. So if you're looking for a template that you can mirror, you can have one there, and it's really straightforward. It's simple to use and it's pretty easy. We explain for you what you're doing at every section of the resume. So feel free to take advantage of that. It's free. All right, so I just want to show you how to fix that resume if you are applying but not getting any interview, so that you can land that first interview. Okay, and I'm just going to walk you through some of the mistakes that people tend to do that I see. First of all, if you're particularly from Nigeria like I am, take out your date of birth, take out your state of origin, take out what are some of the interesting things that people tend to put in the resumes. Take out all of those things. Take them out. Nobody really cares what state you're from. Nobody really cares if you are, like, I know people sometimes also put permanent residents. Quite frankly, every job that they will ask you if you have, unless it expressly states that you need to state if you are a permanent resident, take it out. You'll have tons of opportunity to answer the question on whether or not you're eligible to work in Canada. Okay, so take all of those things out. So I will sort of do this by walking through the mistakes and then how to fix it. Okay. All right, so mistake number one that people tend to use is they use the one size fits all resume. And I see this happen a lot. Okay, one size fit all. You're trying to use the same resume to apply for every single job without changing a single thing. I get it. You think that it's in the numbers, which sometimes it can be, but it's not always the case, right? Quite frankly, quite often not the case. Right. And so you're sending out 1,000 applications, meaning that you have more chance. In Canada, not so much, not really. Tailoring your resume, however, to the job description is what is key. Okay, so you want to use keywords from the job posting. You want to make sure that your skills match what the employer is looking for. Okay, and so for example, you're looking at a job description and on the job description, they talk about one of the skills they're looking for is communication, right? and they use the word communication, but then on your resume, you have strong oral skills. Now, in your head or in your mind, you're thinking, well, that's communication. And it is, but they use the word communication. So instead of just leaving yours as oral, verbal, whatever, right? You want to actually match those words, okay? You want to actually match those words. So really tailoring your resume, like even when you have what I call industry resume, which is it's a resume that really just like, for instance, I'm a senior policy analyst and I have a senior policy analyst resume that even if I tweaked nothing, it still sort of will suffice. But even when you have an industry resume, sometimes you still want to make sure that you're matching skill sets as much as possible. Now, the reason this is important is because most employers tend to use applicant tracking system. And what that system does is that it looks out for how well your resume matches the job description. And so the more words that match the job description you can have in your resume, spread across, the better for you, and or closest synonyms, right? So that's why. However, I also would say that be careful to not put in things you don't have. Okay, be truthful so that yourself be true, and don't just haphazardly put those words in there. It's a craft. Okay, you want to make sure that you're skillfully putting in those words in a way that really resonates with the experiences that you have that you're trying to showcase in your resume. So that's mistake number one people tend to make, and that's how you fix it, is to make sure that you do accurate job matching, skill matching on your resume. Number two is that it's too long and it's too detailed. It's too long, too detailed. I mean, anything that goes beyond 2 page really is way too much, way too much. Okay, employers in Canada, research has shown this, that they tend to spend all about 6 seconds scanning your resume. If it's too long, they won't even read it. And just because you have 2 pages doesn't mean that each bullet point gets to be three lines long. No, keep it to 1 to 2 pages max. Focus on your recent and your relevant experience. And there's a difference. I'm saying recent and relevant because the most relevant job to what you're applying for might not necessarily be your most recent job. You still want to put your recent job in there, but you want to also highlight your most relevant experience and keep that at the top. Okay, so use bullet points instead of long paragraphs. All right, use bullet points instead of long paragraphs. As mistake number 3, and how to fix that, is that there's no Canadian experience, and people think that that's it, I'm doomed. No, you are not, and no, you don't have to be, right? Again, I know that, again, people talk about the Canadian experience, and not knowing how to handle it can really just be the issue. All right, so there's a way to go around that. If you're new, you might feel stuck. All right, but the trick is, instead of only listing jobs from back home, you really want to do a good job in storytelling and highlighting the transferable skills, and in some cases, take up a volunteer work as soon as you get here. All right, take up a volunteer work as soon as you get here, and or some freelance work. All right, because those counts. The Canadian experience is such a big myth. It's not so much about that you have a paid job, but so much about that you understand. What you're really trying to show is your understanding for how the Canadian workplace is structured, right? And the nuances around that. Okay, so if you have some volunteer experience, put them in. They just want to see relevant skills, not just job titles. Okay, and if you do a good job really at highlighting your transferable skills in the Canadian language, that's also key, because sometimes, yes, the resume is short. Yes, you try to tailor, but are you using the right language? Okay. And I'll give you an example. And I think I've used this example quite often, right? I've seen people who would come in, for instance, and they're using words like local government. Right? Local government really is just municipal government. Nobody understands what you mean here when you say local government and you're highlighting your experience from working with local government. Nobody understands that, but say municipal and people get it, right? And even in my own personal story that I talk about, I think I don't know if I've shared this before, but the last job I was doing before I moved here, my job title was Foreign Service Officer. I quickly understood that nobody understood what that meant. Nobody understood what that meant. Nobody understood, not a lot of people understood what Ministry of Foreign Affairs meant, right? And so I have to do that equivalency. And so on my resume, you'll see things like Ministry of Foreign Affairs in brackets. I'll probably put like a little equivalent to Global Affairs Canada. And then instead of using the word Foreign Service Officer, I started using the word Foreign Policy Analyst, because policy analyst is what they understand. Or sometimes I will just leave it as policy analyst and then I'll put in bracket foreign affairs, right? And depending on what I was applying to, I will put it that way. When I was applying to global affairs, however, I put it as what it is, foreign service officer, because if anybody gets it, they do. And guess what? They did. They did get it. Anyway, I'm just excited about that. So you don't have a Canadian experience. It doesn't doom you. Just really tell a good story in crafting your resume. Like I said, so much has changed in 10 years. It gladdens my heart when I see people come in and land really great jobs. I have worked with clients, my coaches and I, we've worked with lots of clients that have gotten great jobs right off the bat. I'm talking weeks, months of landing, right? And I've even had success cases with people who have gotten jobs even before arrival. So it is happening, people. The thing we've been working hard to make sure we see, it is materializing right before our eyes, and we are glad for it, right? And that's why I keep sharing about my story and I keep sharing to people, because if I can make it really short for you, that's what I want. I want people to be able to get the jobs that they deserve right off the bat, okay? All right, mistake number 4, no metrics, no impact, just listing out responsibilities. Now, your resume will be too generic, all right? Saying things like managed inventory or whatever isn't enough, or saying things like responsible for picking calls or responsible for calling customers back. What does that tell us? It doesn't tell us anything. They want to see numbers. They want to see results. They want to see outcomes. They want to see achievements. All right. So use numbers where possible. Okay. As much as possible. So for instance, instead of saying something like I managed inventory, you could say managed inventory for a 1,500 square foot warehouse, improving efficiency by 40%. That not only gives them something that they can work with that visualizes for them, but also shows impact that you've made. All right. And so you really just want to show a lot of examples of outcomes and impacts that you have made. All right. And that way your resume sounds strong and it comes off really strong, and it shows that you are someone who can solve problems. And then so those are some of the very common mistakes that I tend to find that happens. And of course, it goes without saying as a final thought is read through and make sure that there are no errors. Maybe let me also throw this in here. Be very mindful if you're using AI to write your resume, because truth be told, everybody's sounding alike these days. I predict that hiring managers and organizations might soon move away from ATS to reviewing resumes through humans once again, because everybody just sounds alike and everybody's going to get through. If you're using AI to do it, chances are that another AI would, give you a check. But when you get in front of an interviewer, are you going to be able to defend what is on that resume, right? And so, because I don't know, like someone tell me what's happening, because I see a lot of positions come out. They'll tell you they've hired someone and then it comes out again months after. And sometimes if you know those people, you're hearing things like, yeah, no, I was let go. Oh, what happened? Anyway, I'm not saying anything here, but I just feel like everybody tends to sound alike these days. So there's nothing wrong with using AI to write your resume if that's what you want to do, but just be very mindful to make sure that you're proofreading, to make sure that you still have your voice in it and that you're not just sounding like a robot when they look at your resume. But you're still going to have to defend whatever you have. So check your spelling, check your grammar, check everything, and make sure that it is clean and nice. Okay. So that's that for resume. Now that you know all of these mistakes, I hope that you can fix your resume and start getting more interviews. Like I said, there is a link to our free resume templates right here in the description box. You can go ahead and click that so you can have access. And there's also a video that we have done on how to write your resume and get the winning resume, right? So you want to get more in front of interviewers. So like I said, in my own journey, my resume didn't seem to be a problem. But I was getting all those interviews. I was responding. I was going for them, but I wasn't getting any responses back. But that switched, and I'm going to tell you all about how that switched in the next video and tell you how to make sure that when you do land the interview that you are responding in a way that gets you the job. Okay, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already for more tips on how to thrive in Canada and how to make sure that you are advancing in your career. I will see you in our next video. Take care and bye.